Hello, my name is Sara Quintero Ramirez, and my presentation's title is Syntactic-Textual Functions of Verb Forms in Oral Chess Narratives. This is my presentation's outline. First, I will present my research objective. Afterwards, I will talk about the theoretical framework. I have three main topics here. Afterwards, I will describe a little bit my methodology. Then I will present some examples in my results. And finally, I will talk about the conclusions drawn from this study. The aim of this presentation is to analyze the syntactic-textual functions that the verb forms used in chess broadcast display in Spanish, in a Spanish corpus. As I said before, the theoretical framework is constituted by three main topics. The first one, what is chess? The second one focused on the terminology used for chess discourse. And the third one, the importance of verb forms in chess discourse. So the first question, what is chess? Well, according to Karayev 2016, chess is considered as a popular board game that challenges the intellect and whose origins go back centuries. In this case, we have the first or the oldest version of chess is Chaturanga, an Indian game with a four-player scenario. In this case, we had infantry, horses, elephants, and some chariots too. Afterwards, we have the Arab version of the game with the Chatrandrash. In this case, it was more a two-player version. And afterwards, this version went to Europe with the name of Shahmat, which in Persian means something just like the king is frozen or the king is dead. Now, Hermes and Erilli define chess as a complex intellectual game that requires sophisticated problem-solving skills. More in particular, Hesse, 2010, says that chess is an intellectual and martial art and at the same time a testing ground for aesthetics, passion, and intellectual heroism, a complete realm of ideas, emotions, and fantasies, as well as insight, mental stimulation of the left and right hemispheres of the brain, joint creativity, and a wonderful harmony between logical and paradoxical elements. So these are just like three different definitions of what chess is. However, the International Federation, the International Chess Federation, the FIDE, says that chess is played on a board consisting of 64 squares distributed in a quadrangular way in 8 by 8. And these squares are alternated in black and white so that every player can just like develop all the possible moves on the board. And at the beginning of the game, each player has 16 pieces, namely a king, a queen, two bishops, two knights, two rooks, and 8 pawns. The aim of the game is to defeat the opponent's king, as we said before. This means that the king cannot move to another square of the board, or the pieces cannot defend the king in this case. This is what Goodbye and Hernández Amigo 2012 say about the game. So we have a specific topic here for the terminology used in chess. As it happens with so many sports events, well, chess has developed its own terminology. As we can see it, for example, in the specific name for the pieces, the specific names for the moves and plays. And we have to say here that some of the names have been taken as borrowings from other languages. For example, the name gambit is taken from Italian. Some names are the result of morphological processes, as Karayev says. In this case, for example, we have the name promotion, which is just like a result of derivational morphology. And we have also some names which are lexicalized phrases, such as, for example, perpetual check, which means a specific move or a specific play. Yeah. So this is just like part of the terminology for chess. Now let's move to the importance of verb forms in sports journalism. Well, as we know, when reporting on sports events, the journalist must intelligently select the vocabulary that best expresses the event. He has to choose just like the perfect nouns, adjectives, and of course, the perfect tenses and moods that best describes that best describe the event they are narrating. So sports journalists must present not only clear texts, but also very attractive and creative texts so that the audience follow them and follow what they are saying. So the chess journalist, more specifically, must describe, as the other sports journalists, must describe what is happening in the match, but due to the slow pace of the game, at the same time, the chess journalist is allowed to comment on the moves, give opinions about what is happening in the game, give opinions about the players, and even talk about other issues related to the match, and even some issues that are not that related to the match, but they just remember and they just present them in the narration, in the broadcast. So, well, that was the theoretical framework. Now let's move to the methodology. And in order to achieve the aforementioned objective, which was to describe and identify the different tenses and moods of the verb forms that are used in the broadcast of chess games in Spanish, we took the broadcast of two blitz games. What does a blitz game mean? Well, it is a game in which the players, each player has less than 10 minutes to complete all his moves in the game. And on the other hand, we consider also two other events that took place in a classical rhythm. This means that each player has more than 60 minutes to complete all the moves in a game. So the two classical rhythm games were obtained from Chess24 in Espanol, whereas the Blitz games were obtained from chess.com ES. We selected the broadcast from these two websites because they are just like the few media that present and that transmit the chess games to the Hispanic world. And we have free access to these websites. That's why. So what did we do to the corpus? Well, once we had the broadcast, we transcribed them completely, and then we identified all the verb forms used in each broadcast. And we have to say that in order to classify these verb forms, we followed Togeby and Hernández Alonso's proposal, which says that we have to consider only the simple forms of the verb and the non-finite forms as well, because they are just like the basic forms of the verb. And from these ones, the other compound forms or the periphrastic constructions are just constructed. So once we had just like the classification of the verb forms, then we just determine the functions that these verb forms display in the game, not only at the level of the sentence, but also at the level of the text, with just like the communicative purpose. These are the main results of our corpus. In this case, we have we discovered or we registered 1,193 verb forms in the corpus. And from this, 635 were identified as present indicative. This means that 53% of the corpus use present indicative. And then we registered 266 infinitives 79 gerunds, and 68 past participles. So with the present indicative and the 3 non-finite forms, we have 88% of the corpus. So as we can see, the other forms, the past, the perfective past, the simple future, the imperfective past, the conditional, and the present subjunctive are not that important for the broadcasts in chess. Okay, according to our results, present indicative is used with various functions. The first one to describe, of course, the actions that take place in the match game, in the match. The second one to express opinions about a move that has just taken place, so that the journalist develop a little bit what might happen or what they think about this move, etc. And then another function is to present didactic explanations. Sometimes the journalist presents some ideas to the audience so that we as fans can learn from the game. And finally, well, to evaluate the qualities of a chess player and also to formulate hypotheses and suppositions derived from a move about what might happen in the immediate future. I'm going to present some examples of the 3 main functions of present indicative. In this case, we have the description of the actions that take place in the event. The first example is in Spanish, the second one is in English, and in this case, we have how the present indicative is used in order to present all the specific actions in the game. We have just like about to start the game between Matlakov and against Magnus Carlsen. He drinks, Magnus, he drinks a little bit of water, takes off his jacket, puts it on the chair, brings the chair closer, composes the pieces. This is a blitz game, but Magnus Carlsen, the world champion, is in no hurry. He finally plays knight f6, as we can see, just like all the actions that took place in that moment. Another function to express opinions about a move. In this case, we can see just like the verb to seem and to love, which are very good to express an opinion, a personal opinion of the journalist. This bishop line g4 seems to me a very good choice for Ruslan Ponomaryov, a strategically positional player. I love how he understands the position, how he has the touch of the champions. And as I said before, the present indicative is also used to explain something to the audience so that we can learn from the experts. And in this case, we have, this is theoretical and known for a long time. If you are on knight b5, you just eat. Nothing happens here. You are doing a little trick, etc. There are moves to avoid, like knight to a4, but in reality, well, it was always considered that black is perfectly fine here. So we have just like in the first 3 sentences that use present indicative, we can see the presence not only of the tense and mood, but also the presence of the second person, you, which makes us feel part of the game and makes us feel just like we're learning from the experts. What about the non-finite forms? As we said before, they constitute 34% of the corpus, and they display functions in common, such as periphrasis, verbal periphrasis, and a technique for linking clauses with different semantic values, such as, I don't know, cause, consequence, finality, opposition, etc. The infinitive is found also as a complement of the verb and the noun. The gerund is used in independent constructions, and the past participle is also observed in passive voice and compound tenses. We have here an example of infinitives with periphrastic constructions, such as we'll have to see, black wants to defend, so 1 plus infinitive, and which is going to look future, periphrastic future in this case, and that's basically it. What about gerunds? Well, gerunds are used in order to express the progressive aspect of a construction. In this case, he's making faces like he's not convinced of what's happening on the board. maybe he's showing some distrust. So he's making what's happening and he's showing. And finally, past participle, as we said before, it's used in passive voice, such as if the knight is captured, then, well, there's a consequence there. So what are our conclusions here in a very brief moment? Well, that all these forms, present indicative and the three non-finite forms, constitute 88% of the corpus. That gives us an idea that the other forms, that the other verb forms are not really very useful in order to present what's happening in a game, in a chess game, in a chess broadcast. So it's true that present indicative could be considered as a very logical tense, since it helps to present just like the actions that take place in the game. But the interesting thing here is that it is not the only function in the game or in the broadcast. As we saw, it can be used in order to present some suppositions, in order to present opinions, in order to give advice to the audience, and make some comments of the game. So it is just like very well used in this case. And the non-finite forms just complement this idea. So thank you very much. These are my main references. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know here, or you can send me also an email. Thank you.